Today we're talking about how to create motivation for weight loss.
The ultimate power couple.
So I'm going to bring up Erin and Sarit.
Make some noise for Erin and Sarit.
Give it up. Come on, turn it up.
We help people to gain their confidence back through weight loss and body transformation so that they can have the courage to live into their highest potential.
It's not about what you do in one day. It's about what you do every single day.
But motivation for weight loss and how we're going to create that is also going to be the same as how do we create motivation to go to work? How do we create motivation to do yard work? How do we create motivation to meal prep? How do you create motivation to do anything that you don't want to do because anything that you want to do doesn't require motivation? So all the principles apply. My name is Erin.
And I'm Sarit.
And if you have not met us before, if this is the first time, we're on a mission to transform the lives of millions through the same movement, nutrition, and lifestyle habits that have transformed ours. If you want to find out more about what we do, you can go to erinandsarit.com, S-A-R-I-T, and check us out there, and Erin and Sarit on all of their social media platforms. So let's dive into today's topic, Sarit.
Motivation. Shall we also discuss what's happening in the world too?
Yeah.
I feel like it'll be almost inauthentic not to.
Well, I was deeply saddened this morning and actually felt sick to my stomach because if you've been under a rock or hiding, there was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump Saturday afternoon. And I just want to inspire and encourage, regardless of what you believe about politics, about what side you stand on, about what things you value or believe or are important to you. My heart was broken so hard this morning because all I saw was people hating each other for having differing opinions and differing beliefs. When the reality is that who really knows the truth anywhere? Like, we can all speculate, we can all have ideas and opinions and thoughts, and we're going to create those thoughts and opinions and ideas from how we grew up, from our backgrounds, from the things that we learned, from the people that we're around. And this is all very normal and natural, and we're all going to be different about it, which is the most challenging thing about humanity, but also the most beautiful thing about humanity is that we are all different. So my encouragement is just, if you see somebody put something on the internet that is different than what you believe, before meeting them with hate, whether it's in your heart, in the comments, in a message privately, before you meet them with hate, please try to meet them with curiosity. Why does somebody think differently than I do? Instead of, I hate you because you think differently than I do. And, pray for all the families and innocent people that were negatively impacted by that. So that is where I will end my thing there. So whatever you want to add.
It's important to bring up these conversations because this is life, and how you do one thing is how you do everything. Hate is a reaction. It is not an intellectual response. We are the only creatures on planet Earth that have the ability to intellectually think, that have the ability to respond. This is exactly what leadership is all about. Today, we're going to talk about motivation, how to overcome motivation. Listen, not every single day you're going to feel motivated. How you lead yourself is going to determine how you overcome it. So the reason why we share this with you is because if you are in this position where you think, oh, weight loss is my problem, no, weight loss is not your problem. You just haven't been taught how to manage your mind and how to manage your emotions. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. This morning, Erin and I, we both have our morning routine. And as part of our morning, we like to nourish our minds. So we read multiple things. And I was reading this morning and Erin walks into the office and it's like, when you love someone, you can just tell that there's something weighing heavy on their heart. And I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, she just laid down on me and she's like, I'm just so sad. And what this country stands for is unity. It is called the United States of America.
And we're so far away from it. It's heartbreaking.
And I believe that the reason why we're, number one, it takes each and every single one of us to be united.
Yeah.
Each and every single one of us to be united. What this country in July 4th, 1776, right? The founders of this country, what they stood for, they literally sacrificed their life in order to have unity and togetherness. Actually, it's the unity that created freedom in this country when America was captivated by Britain, right? So in order for us to maintain unity, it is a daily act. And the same thing happens with our body too. For example, I don't care where you're at in your body journey right now. You could be jacked and having a six-pack, or you could be, 300 pounds and you're just kind of like getting in the groove. It doesn't matter. Like whatever it is that you want to achieve, be it physical freedom, be it mental freedom, be it financial freedom, it is the daily acts that are going to get you there. Just because a certificate was signed by our founding fathers back in 1776, that does not mean that we will be united. And whatever happened this weekend, and it doesn't matter whether it's, like this political party or that political party, people are people. It was just, it was a manifestation of not being responsible and instead attacking one another.
Mm-hmm. We do a lot of like weight loss and body transformation, but ultimately it comes from the perspective of personal growth and development, because to change on the outside requires change on the inside. And so this is perfect and wholesome, because the way you treat yourself is the way you're going to treat other people. And everything affects everything. Yeah. So you might not think of yourself as a leader. So we'll just say like how you act toward yourself is how you'll act towards other people. Like if you ask yourself, and in some cases, and it's not going to be like a black and white, of course, everywhere. There's always exceptions. There's always another side to the coin. But more often than not, if we are negatively self-talking, when we fall short, when we don't follow through with something, when, we feel like we let ourselves down or somebody else down, and we start talking bad to ourselves, that negative self-talk is like what is in your heart will come out of your mouth. Yeah. And so if you haven't yet developed the skill and the self-control and power to think like when something is happening, instead of just being instinctively reactive to it, to stop and look and then actually have a response that's intentional, then life is just chaotic all the time. And if we are living in an internal state of chaos, unable to manage our own thoughts and words and our minds and our actions and all of that, it's going to be very difficult to get our bodies in shape, to get healthy, to be consistent with anything, and to just survive in this wild world that we live in. And there's a couple of questions that would be so powerful to ask ourselves. And one of those is, am I more attached to being right than I am to being curious? Am I more attached to being right than I am to being curious?
So good.
Like, am I willing, it hurts the ego to say, I was wrong. And so a lot of people have a really hard time with that. But until you can get to that point, you're going to have a hard time managing your own self, because sometimes we get it wrong. We mess up, right? We make mistakes. We assess the situation poorly, and we act poorly based on our poor assessment of the situation. Mm-hmm. And this is just anything in general. And then the second question is, what if a belief that I found out to be not the truth? What would happen if a belief that I had, whatever it is, if it's political, if it's nutritional, if it's about fitness, if it's about yourself, your genetics, like you believe that you can't lose weight because you're old, or like you have a slow metabolism and like, so you can't. What would happen if a belief that you had was not the truth? Would you be able and open-minded enough to say, well, shoot, oops, but I'm glad that I know better, versus like just trying to hang on to it because you don't want to be wrong. And I think that that's a lot of the issue. Like if I'll wrap it back around to like what's going on in society, is like a lot of the issue with society is people are fighting to be right and unwilling to let go of the fact that they could possibly not be. Unattach.
And this is beyond politics too. Like we see this everywhere. We see this in household. We see it in parenting. We see it in marriages. If you have a breakdown in relationship with someone, it's because there was a misunderstanding and one party or both parties were more attached to being right than seeking to understand where the other person is coming from.
It's so liberating when you can be like, oh yeah, oops, I got that one wrong.
Yeah.
And move on. So whether they believe this thing or that thing, it's like, instead of hating the person or being discouraging or dismissing or disowning a person, maybe you can dismiss or disown an idea, but even that I think is dangerous, because if you're not open-minded, you only hurt yourself. But to also understand that if I want to communicate and relate well to other people and be curious about other people, I also get to practice. I love learning about myself. It's one of the most powerful things that you can do, because the more you learn about yourself, the more you understand why you feel certain reactions from what people say or what you see or what someone said to you, or, you know, the more you understand yourself, the more power you have to control your response to things outside of you. And it's amazing. Better ability that you have to also ask powerful questions to understand somebody else.
We decided to have a conversation about motivation on a Monday because, well, it's easy to be in the energy of motivation on a Monday.
But do you want to know something? Today I was not.
And do you want to know something? It is going to perish. So while the energy is high, we might as well prepare for the moments when it's low. So here's the reality. When it comes to motivation, as a matter of fact, most of the time, you're actually not going to be motivated. As a matter of fact, 66% of the time, you're not going to be motivated.
Where did you get that statistic from?
Well, because
70% of the time it works everywhere.
No, because 33% of the time you're going to have hard days.
Where did that come from? This is what I mean by like critically thinking. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just like, where did you get that from?
This is something that Alex Hormozi talked about.
The king.
Like the bottom third, the middle third, and the top third.
I don't know.
Okay, so the reality is that you are going to be in the top third. Like when it comes to I'm motivated, I'm feeling good, today's a good day, blah, 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 blah. Like
so that's an F. That's a failing grade.
33% of the time. That is a failing grade.
It's a failing grade.
So if you knew that ingredient is going to get you a failing grade, will you sign up your kid to go to school there?
Dang, somebody must have put that ingredient in my batch when I took Spanish in high school.
You know what I mean? So the truth of the matter is that most days you're not going to feel motivated. Okay. Now, even though some people are more motivated by nature, what I want you to know is that the thing that you're seeking should not be motivation. Because if you see that people motivation by nature, it is not because of the motivation that they're able to go longer. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons why you don't want to rely on motivation is because motivation is an external source. Okay, so the truth of speaking about back to personal leadership and Personal leadership is responsibility. What is responsibility? It means the ability to respond to external circumstances, right? So you want to develop yourself to be the type of leader where it doesn't matter whether it's 90 degrees and humid outside or whether it's 30 degrees and snowing outside. Your actions are not going to be determined by the external circumstance. So responsibility is not relying on an external source in order to do whatever it is that you're set out to do, be it getting in your workout, be it meal prepping. It means being unconditional about it. I don't care what are the external conditions, whether I'm traveling back to back, like 50 weeks out of the year versus it's cold outside versus it's really hot outside versus it's noon versus it's 6 a.m. Responsibility is you being the generator of the activity, regardless of what the external circumstances or the surroundings look like. And motivation is actually extremely irresponsible because it is you relying on an external source in order to do something. How does that show up in other areas of your life? Have you ever heard couples saying, "Oh, you complete me, baby," or like, "You're the reason why I'm happy"? No, that's a terrible thing. Like, sure, you want to
feel it,
right? Like I hear so many times people in relationships say, I found happiness when I found you. I'm like, that's a terrible thing to say with love.
Well, maybe not a terrible thing to say, but a dangerous feeling or like a trap.
I guess that's a better way to put it.
A dangerous trap to fall into, because to rely on somebody or something else to make you happy, this is addiction, right? Like, you could be addicted to a person and it be unhealthy.
It is reliance on an external source, be it pizza, be it a significant other, be it a kid. And that is the power of self-development. Because if you do not develop you to fulfill you from the inside, then you will always seek something else, right? Like, you gotta work on you from the inside out. And if you're not working on you from the inside out, what's going to happen is that there's always going to be a dependence on another source. Mm-hmm. Oh, today cannot be a good day if I don't work out. Well, that sucks. And the next time you get injured, just watch and see what happens. Mm-hmm. I see it happen with fit people, even athletes, all the time.
Like, something that looks like dedication and commitment can actually be addiction and unhealthy. Like, when you see people who work out all the time, you might think like, wow, they're really dedicated and committed. But even that can be a way to hide from something else that you don't want to confront. So no matter what it is, it's in here, and you will be the only one who knows for sure, like, whether or not you're dependent on something, right? Like, if you don't feel good or right or happy or something when you don't have something external, that's like a little alarm, like a little flag, like a little yellow flag, like, maybe pay attention over here, The other thing, I looked up the word motivation just for the definition for y'all, is the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way, which I found interesting.
The reason or reasons?
The reason or reasons that you do something or you act in a certain way, basically is what it's saying. Or the general desire or willingness of someone to do something.
That's interesting. What's coming up for you on the...
So there are two different things to me. Like, the desire to do something is where I'm thinking is 30% of the time I actually desire to work out. It hurts. It's hard. I can't breathe. I sweat. I'm hot. Nothing about it seems fun. Why would I have a general desire to put myself in a very uncomfortable circumstance? But I do, because the first part of this says the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way. This is where it comes down to your why. Because if you think about it, motivation is not the thing that gets anyone anywhere. Why you want to do something or what you're wanting to accomplish in the future and your ability to keep your vision focused on it rather than the right now and all the things that are happening right now will determine how well you follow through consistently. Because if you think about your vision and you think about the things that you want that are deeply, like deep desires for you, let's use an example. The first thing that came to my mind is like a lot of women have told me, like, I hate having pictures taken of myself. I always hide in the back. I don't want to be like the fat friend in the, picture, or like try to hide behind my kids or something like that. It's like, that is painful for you, but not because of the picture and also not because of your size. There's some type of association that you make with all of that in one little package, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's, why do I feel that way? And really, what am I desiring? Am I desiring self-confidence? Why would I desire self-confidence? Do I want a raise? Do I want a promotion? Do I want to make more money? Do I want to be a good example to my kids so that they don't have to struggle the way that I've struggled? Do I want to feel like a super mom? Do I want praise? Do I want compliments? Like, what am I really seeking? And that reason or reasons, if it's deep enough, you don't need motivation because you can look at the vision. And if discipline, I think a way you could understand discipline is being able to focus on the vision rather than get distracted by instant gratification. Mm-hmm. That's discipline. Sticking to your vision rather than becoming distracted by instant gratification. This thing will make me feel this right now. This thing will give me this type of happiness or peace or feeling right now. And sometimes that might be appropriate and sometimes it might not. I don't know, two sides to every coin. You assess for yourself. But that's motivation, like the definition of, and ultimately it's created by you. You create the motivation. So I want to go into a little bit like, how do we then create motivation? Because if we don't just have it, like, how do we generate that? That's a lot of percentage. How do we generate that so that we can use motivation, but not rely on motivation?
Yeah.
I'm asking you that question.
Before we go into the mechanics, as we're going to share with you what we're going to share with you, just please think honesty. We're going to get to that in just a second. I believe that most people bullshit themselves. And
we're really good bullshitters.
And if you do not lead what I'm about to tell you with true honesty, then it's just not going to work for you. It won't.
The human being is the best bullshitter alive.
Yeah. Because a lot of times we say things to ourselves that make us look good because there's some kind of story about looking good.
We want to be right. We want to be right.
Maybe it's we want to be right. Maybe it's we want to be safe. Maybe it's we don't want to be rejected. You know what I mean? So there's a deeper meaning underneath that. But the first thing that you, in order for you to not rely on motivation, any external circumstance to determine your condition and how you're going to show up today is, number one, you got to be super clear about what it is that you want. You got to have a vision.
It took me a long time to figure out how to make a V.
And if you're like, well, how do I have a vision? Just like ask yourself, if you're like, I don't know, like this sounds like such a big word. I don't know. So here's a really great way to get yourself in the way for creating a vision. Number one, know what you don't want. Why? Our minds can easily go to places and things that we don't want.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Know what you don't want, but do not dwell and focus on what you do not want.
No. The reason why you want to know what you don't want is because now you're leading with what we call an elimination process. Okay, because when you're clear on what you don't want, because that might be more apparent to you based on pain that you've experienced. So now you flip the script and you eliminate that. Okay, if you're like, I don't want to be sick like my parents. I don't want to be dependent on my kids when I'm 50 years old. You might not know what
I used to say I don't want to feel like a 10-pound shit in a 9-pound bag.
you might not know what physical freedom looks like because maybe you've never had it. You know, like a lot of times it's really hard to experience things that we've never had. Now, knowing through our own experiences what hurt, what didn't serve us, we can eliminate towards what do we do want. Okay, I don't want to be dependent on my kids when I'm 50 years old. Okay, then what will require for me to create in order for me to not be dependent on my kids when I'm 50 years old? Well, it will require for me to take care of my health. Okay, well, what does that look like? Keep asking yourself the questions. Unless you're really clear, keep asking yourself the questions on, okay, what does that look like? And the second thing that you want to do is, once you're clear on what that looks like, is why is that important to me?
Like, what will it change for you?
It's important to me because I've seen how, you know, being dependent on my kids when I'm 50 years old actually puts them a decade or 2 decades back, and how much stress it creates. And from what I've gone through, I don't want to create that on them. Okay, so now there's an emotional investment. You'll never be able to lead yourself through something that is transformational without an emotional investment. Just hear me out on this. Any transformation requires growth. Growth is painful. So if you want to get in better shape, if you want to lose weight, if you want to get a 6-pack, I don't know where you're at right now, but it's going to require for you to go from where you currently are to where you want to go. There is going to be discomfort involved. And that's why I'm telling you, don't bullshit yourself, because most of the time I hear people say, I want to lose weight. Meanwhile, you're just like acting in a way that is so out of alignment with what it looks like.
And it might be true that they want to lose weight, but they're not intimately attached to the true reason why. That's important.
Yeah.
So it's still on the surface. So it's hard to do below the surface activity if you're not below the surface on why you want to do that, because it's hard. It's hard. And one of the things that gets us a step further is first accepting and understanding that it is hard. Look, it's hard to keep trying to lose the same 20 pounds for your entire life. It's also hard to do it the right way, where it takes you a little bit longer, feels like a little bit more of a grind, requires a little bit more patience. Either way, it's going to be challenging, and life is challenging. So it's like, as soon as we can just accept that it is going to be hard, it is not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to, like, a weight loss pill is actually going to make things more challenging for me than if I just do the work. One of our friends told us the other day that the most searched, like the top 20 most searched phrases or things that have to do with weight loss are weight loss pills, or like diet pills, or like, does keto pills work for weight loss, or things like that. And it was also heartbreaking, because I'm like, that is actually the harder way. That is being distracted by instant gratification. That is a right now type of thing that I believe, I'm not sure because I'm not inside everybody's head, but I believe that deep down we know that that is not the answer.
And that is relying on an external source to transform us.
But imagine if, like, I'm going to use the word desperation because that's what I understand. Because when I took diet pills too. So when I was at that point, I was desperate. So I'm going to use the word desperation. Like, when we are so desperate to, let's just say, lose weight in this topic, we are willing to do things that instinctively we know are not the answer. But why are we still willing to do them? Because our desperation lives outside of us versus coming inside and saying, Like, what do I so desperately want to change deep down in me and do the work to do that, versus what do I want to change on the outside of me and take a pill to do that? And I told you, I was like, I swear we have the hardest job in the entire jobs everywhere, which is helping people to lose weight the right way. Because why? It is so not easy to sell or sexy to convince anybody or inspire or encourage anybody to do. Because why? People want things fast. They want them easy. They want them cheap.
They want to be able to see it before they put in the work.
None of that will work long term. But people will pay thousands of dollars to keep struggling forever because they're not intimate with what they want to change inside. They're only connected to what they want to change on the outside.
So when you get connected to why does that matter to me? Then you want to take it one step further, because you want to give yourself a realistic expectation. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this truly to me? 10 being, I'm willing to literally like stop everything right now and make this my lifelong commitment. I don't care if it's going to cost me $100,000, if it's going to cost me 10 hours out of my day, if I'm going to need to move to another country. I am all in.
If people judge me, don't agree with me, criticize me.
Versus 1 is...
And this is where you don't bullshit yourself. Don't say 10 if you're not 10.
Versus 1, if... Actually, I will say if you start saying anything with the word if, you're already less than 5, because now you're putting conditions on it.
Well, I think subconsciously you're like, I don't believe that it's going to happen.
Yeah. If my schedule works, if my spouse says it's okay, if the kids get back to school, all of these conditions, if you're waiting for some kind of condition, if that means that it's not going to be hard, and if I can still eat my pizza, then okay, you're already like at a 5 or less. Versus 1 is, no, you know what? I'm not willing to give up anything.
I would say it's better to be honest at a 1 than it is to be dishonest at an 8 or a 9.
Yeah.
Because this is the part where it's like, I think why is it hard for us to be honest about how committed we are to something, is because there's this like, I'm a bad person if I'm not if this isn't important to me. Like, I'm a bad person if my health isn't important to me. But the reality is it's just not to some people. And that doesn't make them bad people. That just means that that's where they're at. And it's totally their journey and they totally get to choose. It just, the purpose of me saying that is it's better to be honest with yourself and say that this is not important to me, because at least at that point you're like, okay, like you've made peace with it. Then try to say like, oh yeah, I'm at an 8. And like you try and then you fail and you try and fail and you wonder. And then you're like, oh, if I'm not at an 8, then I must, and my health isn't important to me, then I must be a bad person. And so I need to be an 8, but like deep down you're not. So it's like you're now internally conflicted because you're not being honest with yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's those lies that we tell ourselves that make us anxious, that make us like really have anxiety. It's like something is not aligned with what you say and what you do. And so life is harder than it needs to be.
Yeah. And I think, like being a woman and knowing the expectations that are being put on us women, I believe that a lot of women are not actually truthful to them because 2 things. Number 1 is society puts some kind of expectation on us that we need to be skinny. We need to have like some kind of thigh gap. And if we do not fit some kind of dogma that they create, then something is wrong with us. Meanwhile, we really love cake. Dude, I would rather you say, hey, you know what? I fucking love cake and I'm not willing to compromise that. Okay, then own the fact that you don't have a thigh gap. And don't say, I want to have a thigh gap and still eat cake.
My thighs about started a fire the other day when we went for a warm-up jog. I tell you what, like something was friction. Something was going to happen in there. Anyways, I think my legs were clapping for my exercise. They're like, yeah, go you.
Let's be real. That was almost so dumb.
Anyways, this is just a project I decided to start doing because I think it's really fun. We send I've been doing a joke of the week. I've been doing workouts of the week. So you could get 5 different types of workouts. We've been doing a challenge of the month as well, just in our normal Facebook group community. If you want to learn how to get to be a part of our Facebook group community, that's the group, not this page. But check the description or notes or whatever to find the link to that. But we've been doing a challenge of the month in there. So we'll put the challenge in that email. And then there's also a recipe of the week. And I want to add more things, but one thing is a book of the month, because personal development is just to me, it's everything. The more I can learn about myself and know about myself, the more I can get along in this world with other external things and people and circumstances. And the book of the month is called Anatomy of the Spirit. And I recommend anybody read this. And again, read with an open mind, because, it talks about 3 or 4 different type of religious practices, but how they each kind of align with one another. It's not so much about the religion as much as it is about we are very powerful as human beings, and how to know that power from the ground up, how to understand your, how you are affected by the things that happened when you were young, and different things that happen now in your life. And so super powerful. Anyways, I'd recommend that you read that book. It's called Anatomy of the Spirit.
Yeah. And by the way, if you know that you are on a quest to become a better version of yourself, you want to be more disciplined, you are no bullshit committed to transforming your physical and mental well-being, and you understand that this is a journey. It is not a snapshot of I'm taking this pill, this is what's going to happen. No, it's going to require hard work. It's going to require intentionality and awareness. Then if you wonder, where do we do that? What do Erin and Sarit do? Then just acknowledge or look, when you go to erinandsarit.com, take a look at the $1 Million Body Society. This is where all of our badass go-getters play at. This is where we all work on becoming a better version of ourselves. So if you know that you need the tactical action steps, then this is the place that you want to consider being. It's called $1 Million Body Society, and it's basically a personalized lifestyle coaching where we hone in on the 5 pillars that allow you to become the best version of yourself.
That's health, wellness, mentality, movement, nutrition, and regeneration, discipline, mindset.
Yeah. And you're given the step-by-step formula each and every single day. And it's kind of like a daily checklist. First, we assess you based on where you currently are behaviorally, based on how you've shown up until now. And every single day you get to have your daily checklist. And these are the action steps that are going to help you to transform your body and your life. Erin and I are in there too, and it's just the most incredible place.
Yeah, it's ongoing accountability, customization, support, and coaching.
Yeah.
So that's it. Hopefully you guys got a lot out of this. If you're watching this on YouTube after we did the video live and you like what we do, hit the subscribe button. Also put in the comments, what did you like? So that, again, we know where to go with these and how to continue supporting you. Until then, have peace, have love, be united, and we love you guys.
Much love.